Seminar on the role of the renal biopsy in categorization of various glomerular disease. This is the topic of seminar. History. The term biopsy was introduced into medical terminology by Ernest Boswell in the 1879. The first renal biopsy performed in the 1923 as open surgical procedure by the Guyenne. The percutaneous approach has been done since the 1951, first by the Everson and Burn. First renal biopsy in the prone biopsy is done by the Kark and Mullich in the 1954. Introduction. The renal biopsy is important tool in the evaluation of the patient with the renal disease, and it is gold standard in the diagnosis and management of many diseases. Utilizing this procedure, it is possible to establish accurate diagnosis, obtain the clinical information on the evolution and prognosis of the disease process, and develop the rational approach to the treatment of the renal disorder. The renal biopsy specimen is the best example of the specimen that pathologists cannot interpret without the clinical information. Indication of renal biopsy: proteinuria, asymptomatic or nephrotic syndrome, hematuria, acute and chronic renal failure, renal allograft. Contraindication: relative contraindication in that kidney condition, polycystic kidney disease, solitary kidney, pyelonephritis, hydronephrosis, atrophic or small kidney, renal neoplasm. And patient status: uncontrolled bleeding diathesis, uncontrolled hypotension, morbid obesity, vascular AV fistula, severe anemia, uremia and uncooperative patients. Complication of renal biopsy: macroscopic hematuria, hemorrhage into the retroperitoneal tissue around the kidney, AV fistula, consequence of the puncture of the intra-abdominal organs. Procedure: patient's informed consent is obtained. Ultrasound and CT scan is done to document the location and size of the kidney. Blood pressure should be less than 160/90. Bleeding time, platelet time, prothrombin time and activated partial thromboplastin time should be normal. Blood sample should be drawn for the blood grouping and cross matching and blood transfusion. Procedure: in this procedure, patient is placed in the prone position. Skin is marked after the imaging the kidney and identify the lower pole where the biopsy needle is inserted. Aseptic precaution is taken. The skin and subcutaneous tissue are anesthetized by the lignocaine and small incisions are made on the skin. The patient in the deep inspiration and hold the needle position to the kidney like shown in the photo. Other technique used for the renal biopsy is transjugular approach, laparoscopy and other surgical approach, open surgical approach. This is the automated biopsy gun used for the kidney biopsy. Appropriate needle: 18 gauge needle most commonly used, rarely 16 gauge, but in the pediatric age group 14 gauge needle is used. This is the adequate tissue sampling in which two core tissue to be obtained. Handling of the biopsy specimen: ideally two biopsy cores should be obtained when the needle biopsy is performed. It should be moved by the wooden stick like toothpick and forceps used in the forbidden because of the crush artifact. After renal biopsy obtained, it should be placed in the drop of saline, examined under the microscope for its color and appearance. A needle biopsy specimen should be divided under the dissecting microscope. This microscope allows for the visualization and differentiation of the renal cortex and renal medulla. Medulla is a parallel structure in which vasa recta and collecting duct. Cortex is an irregular structure and glomeruli grossly appear a small red capillary conglomerate like this photo. In electron microscopy, two small 2 mm pieces with the glomeruli taken. For immunofluorescence, 3 to 5 mm piece of the glomeruli, and in light microscopy the remaining tissue for the paraffin section is taken. This is the showing the if renal biopsy tissue bit, both end are used for the electron microscopy, center one end with glomeruli used for immunofluorescence and rest of the tissue used for H&E light microscopy. Electron microscopy, 1 mm pieces immunofluorescence 2 mm feces, and other is used for the light microscopy. If the core is too small, and the biopsy should be divided for the electron microscopy and immunofluorescence studies, since most of the light microscopy information obtained from the study of the semi-thin section of the plastic embedded tissue process for the electron microscopy. Fixative used in the light microscopy is Zenker's, Heli, Boyne, Vandergriff, 10% neutral formalin and ethanol. For electron microscopy, glutaraldehyde fixation with the post-osmification. For immunofluorescence, do not need any fixative but should be delivered and frozen in the Michaels media for the frozen section. In adequacy of the specimen, a renal biopsy must contain the glomeruli to be considered adequate. The definition of the adequacy largely depends on the disease under the consideration. If the disorder characteristic by irregular or crescentic proliferation, the assessment should be based on the minimal 10 glomeruli. In diffuse lesion such as the membranous glomerulonephritis, the identification of the specific feature in the single glomerulus may be sufficient, especially if the ultrastructure study also performed. Sectioning. Needle biopsy specimen should be embedded in as straight as possible, aligned so that the pieces run across the glass side, not along its length. The axis of the piece is at right angle to the long axis of the slide. Serial section should be cut and run on the should be mounted on the consequently numerous slide, and generally about a 4 to 8 section mounted on the one slide. Sections should be kept and mounted right from the beginning and appearance of the tissue in them. No tissue from the renal biopsy specimen should be discarded. This is like 4 to 8 section on the one slide we obtained. Staining of the specimen: HNE, PA staining, methenamine silver stain, von Giesen stain, Mason comment, Congo red and reticulate stain is used. This is the showing the PA staining, in which basement membrane and mesangial matrix and tubular cast is appearance red. In trichrome stain, basement membrane, mesangial matrix deep blue, interstitial collagen is pale blue, immune complex deposition bright red, fibrin bright red, tubular cast and amyloid light blue appearance. In silver staining, there are the basement membrane and mesangial black, while tubular cast appear grey to black. Total 10 consecutive number slide, 6 to 8 serial sections are mounted. Most of them are cut 3 micro-mm thickness, and those on the slide numbered 7 to 8 at the 2 micro-mm thickness. Slide number 2 and 10 are stained immediately by the HNE. Number 4 stain for the hematoxylin von Giesen stain. Number 6 slide for the Congo red. The slide with thin section number 7 and 8 by the PAS and methenamine silver stain. Slide number 1, 3, 5, 9 to be stained if necessary in the other ways or further study. All spare slides should be stored in the stained slide in case they are ever needed. Immunohistological study of specimen. Immunofluorescence technique on frozen are routinely stained for the antigens such as the immunoglobulin G, A and M, fibrogen, fibrin and complement component, particularly C1q and C3 immunological component. Usually the antibodies to this antigen are directly conjugated to fluorescent isothiocyanate. Preliminary study. When the section stained by the hematoxylin and eosin are available, the pathologist should look at them immediately before section stained in the other ways are ready. This should be done whatever was the indication for the biopsy. Interpretation. There are some steps in the renal biopsy evaluation, each step correlating with one part of the kidney, which is including glomeruli, tubule, interstitial, vascular part, and correlate them with each other. Any changes in each part of the kidney associated with the secondary change to other. The maximum data about the renal biopsy is provided by the light microscopy, immunofluorescence, and electron microscopy. In approach to renal biopsy, first attempt to make the localization whether the injury is glomerular, tubulointerstitial or vascular. The type of injury it is assessed such as the active versus chronic. Active lesion which is include the cellular proliferation, crescent, edema, necrosis and inflammation, while chronic lesion which is represent the fibrosing conditions such as the fibrous crescent, interstitial fibrosis, glomerulosclerosis, tubular atrophy, or vascular sclerosis. Overview of the now we see the overview of the normal glomerulus anatomy. The glomerulus is a vascular structure composed of the tuft of the specialized capillary that arises from the afferent arterioles to form the lobules and that rejoin the vascular pole to drain into the efferent arterioles. Normally, the lobules are poorly defined, but they are highlighted in some disease process. Each lobule is separated by the branching fragment and the mesenterium. This tuft of the capillary lies within the lumen of the expanded proximal end of the nephron and lined by the epithelial cells overlying the thick basement membrane. This is the histology of glomerulus showing the Bowman's capsule, mesenterium, endothelial cells, podocytes, parietal epithelial cells, capillary loop, and glomerular basement membrane. Each glomerulus measures 200 micrometer. The cellularity of the glomerulus varies in the different disease and accurate assessment required histological preparation 2 to 4 micron thick. The presence of the more than 3 cells in the individual glomerular mesangial region away from the vascular pole is considered as the hypercellular. The glomerular basement membrane is a trilamellar structure composed of the central lamella densa. Bordered is seen lamina rara interna and externa. In adult, glomerular basement membrane measures the 310 to 380 nanometer and its thickness is altered in the various glomerular disease. Visceral epithelial cells have the foot process, are involved in the basement membrane synthesis and plays a role in the glomerular permeability. Now we'll see the glomerular disease. Glomerular disease constitutes the sum of the major problem in the nephrology, and glomerulonephritis is the inflammation of the glomerulus, while the glomerulopathy is a term for the disorder affecting this structure. Glomeruli may be injured by a variety of the factors and in course of the several systemic disease. Most of the glomerular disease are the immunological mediated, where tubular and interstitial disorder are frequently caused by the toxic and infectious agent. This is the classification of the glomerular disease by the distribution. Focal means the disease affecting only some of the glomeruli. Diffuse means disease affecting most or the all glomeruli. And classification disease contributed when the single glomeruli affected. In that segmental, the lesion involving only a part of glomeruli, while the global is lesion involving the entire glomerulus. Clinico-pathological classification in glomerular disease. Primary glomerular disease. In this, glomeruli are predominant site of involvement. In that, all the acute glomerular nephritis post-infectious are considered. In secondary glomerular disease, certain systemic and hereditary disorder involved like IgA, SLE, lupus nephritis. The glomerular syndrome, in which the nephritic syndrome, rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis, nephrotic syndrome, chronic renal failure, and isolated urinary abnormality included. This is the schematic diagram showing the age-wise distribution, in which we can see 0 to 10 years minimal chain disease is most common in nephrotic syndrome. Around the 40 years minimal chain disorder and membranous nephropathy, diabetic nephropathy is seen, and after 60 amyloidosis, diabetic type 2 paraneoplastic syndrome is most common, and focal glomerulosclerosis is seen around the 10 to 20 years of age. Glomerular disease evaluation in the renal biopsy is done by see the inflammation, glomerular basement membrane changes, scarring, spikes, fibrinoid exudates, hypercellularity, and deposition. And efferent arterioles brings the blood to the tuft, and efferent arterioles take blood to the capillary in the tissue outside the glomerulus. The tuft is enclosed within the fibrous capsule, which is called as the Bowman capsule, and lined by the parietal epithelial cells. Role of the renal biopsy, in which various terminology which is used for the glomerular involving lesion, like in focal less than 50%, diffuse more than 50% glomeruli, segmental in which part of the glomerulus, global all the glomerulus, mesangial hypercellularity, in which 4 or more nuclei in the mesangial result involve; endocapillary hypercellularity, in which increase the cellularity internal to the glomerular basement membrane composed of the leukocyte endothelial cells and mesangial cells; extracapillary hypercellularity, increase the cellularity in the Bowman space, more than one layer of the parietal and visceral epithelial layer or monocyte and macrophage; crescent extracapillary hypercellularity other than the epithelial hyperplasia of the collapsing variant of the focal sclerosing glomerulosclerosis; fibrinoid necrosis, lytic destruction of the cells and matrix with the deposition of the acidophilic fibrin rich material; sclerotic region, in which the increased collagenous extracellular matrix and expanding the mesangium, obliterating the capillary lumens or forming the adhesion to the Bowman's capsule. Hyaline change, glassy acidophilic extracellular material, membranoproliferative, combined capillary wall thickening, mesangial and endocapillary hypercellularity; lobular hypersegmented, expansion of the segments are demarcated by the intervening urinary space; mesangiolysis, detachment of the paramesangial glomerular basement membrane from the mesangial matrix or the lysis of the mesangial matrix. We'll see no or minimal hypercellularity. This is the first step to determine whether there is a hypercellular or no. This is chart showing the if there are the no or minimal hypercellularity, then we see the light microscopy finding. If there are no light microscopy finding, and nephrotic syndrome, considered as a nephrotic syndrome and hematuria. In nephrotic syndrome there are minimal chain disease, amyloidosis, membranous glomerulonephritis, and in hematuria associated with the Alport syndrome, thin basement membrane disease, IgA nephropathy, lupus nephritis. And other condition is the if we see the glomerular capillary abnormality along with the minimal hypercellularity, then see the collapse or sclerosing, then it is global or segmental focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. If wall thickness is present, then we see the membranous glomerulopathy, diabetic and amyloidosis, and luminal occlusion is seen in the DIC thrombotic microangiopathy. Now we will see one by one classification which is used for the renal biopsy. First is a glomerular disease which is associated with the nephrotic syndrome and the proteinuria. In that, minimal chain disease, focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, membranous nephropathy and C1q nephropathy. Most of all the adults with the nephrotic syndrome have the renal biopsy, but most children with the nephrotic syndrome do not. This is because they are assumed that to have the minimal change nephropathy are managed accordingly. The biopsy is done in the children if there are the unusual clinical features, such as which is presentation seen in the late childhood, approach to diagnosis in the nephrotic syndrome with the insidious onset. Minimal change nephropathy typically gives an abrupt onset of the edema and particularly common in the children under the age of 5, especially in boys. First, minimal chain disease. Minimal chain disease account for the greater than 90% of cases of nephrotic syndrome in the children versus 10 to 15% of the adult with the nephrotic syndrome. Minimal chain disease shows the normal glomeruli by the light microscopy. This is the light microscopy minimal chain disease in which the glomerular capillary with the normal amount of the matrix present in the mesangial cells. Next is a normal glomeruli with the minimal chain disease in which Jones Silver stain. This is the electron microscopy which is showing the diffuse food processes. Second is the focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. Focal segmental glomerulosclerosis is a clinico-pathological entity which is histologically characteristic by the segmental glomerulosclerosis in the some glomeruli or tuft collapse. Segmental hyalinosis, mostly negative, or the IgM staining on the immunofluorescence and effacement of the food process on the electron microscopy. This is diagnosis when even a single glomerulus which is showing the segmental sclerosis. This is the light microscopy HNE showing the glomerulosclerosis, which is the sclerotic region involve the three glomeruli in the segmental pattern. Also, there are the tubular atrophy seen with the mononuclear inflammatory infiltrate. This is the another photograph which is showing the focal and segmental pattern in the glomerulosclerosis. This is the John Silverstein which showing the hyalinosis and sclerosis of glomeruli. Electron microscopy which is showing the extensive food process effacement, excessive food process effacement present and no immune complex are present. Now, membranous glomerulonephritis. Membranous glomerulonephritis is mostly the disease of the adult and unusually seen in the children. Glomerular basement membrane are the main site for the disease. Membrane are the main site of the injury, and the characteristic pathological feature are the thickened glomerular basement membrane along with the predominant IgG deposition of the granular type. In the early stages, GBM may show the normal appearance and mild mesangial hypercellularity. This is the membranous glomerulonephropathy, which showing the HNE 400X with the John Silverstein, a slight thickening of the glomerular basement membrane. This is the thickening. In the immunofluorescence, there are the IgG staining of the basement membrane, which is in the glomerulus. Next is the C1q nephropathy, a controversial entity that is defined by its distinct immunopathological feature. In light microscopy is seen like focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, normal appearing glomeruli and mild mesangial hypercellularity is seen. In immunofluorescence, if we see the dominant or co-dominant mesangial positivity is seen for the C1q and co-staining with the IgG, IgA and C3 also positive. In the electron microscopy, there are the dense electron deposition seen in the center. In pure mesangial, endocapillary or extracapillary proliferative lesion, it is the essential to detect whether the glomerular hypercellularity is purely mesangial, endocapillary or the extracapillary. Glomerular lesion may be the focal or diffuse based upon the percentage of involved the glomeruli. Mesangial and endocapillary proliferation may be segmental or diffuse, while extracapillary proliferation may affect the glomerular partially or globally. This is the glomerular hypercellularity, in which purely mesangial lesions are the IgA nephropathy, lupus nephritis, diffuse mesangial proliferation and diabetic nephropathy. In the endocapillary lesion, we see the focally there are the infective endocarditis, IgA nephropathy and diffuse MPGN, membranoproliferative type 1, type 2, lupus glomerulonephritis, fibrillary glomerulonephritis, cryoglobulinemia and immunotactoid glomerulopathy. While the extracapillary, which is the crescentric, which is showing the linear IgG staining, immune related, anti-GBM antibody mediated glomerulonephritis, granular staining, post-immune, which is the ANCA positive, in with the vaginal granulomatosis, microscopic polyarthritis nodosa, and ANCA negative, idiopathic vasculitis and Alport syndrome. Next is classification. Glomerular disease which is associated with the nephritic and or it is also called as a rapidly progressive glomerular nephritis, in which 5 category: acute post-infectious, membranoproliferative, dense deposit disease, idiopathic nodular glomerulosclerosis and crescentic glomerular nephritis. We will see one by one. Acute post-infectious glomerular nephritis, in which the microscope photograph of the light microscopy is showing the numerous neutrophilic infiltration in the tubular lamina. In immunofluorescence study, which is showing the starry sky appearance surrounding that glomerulus, and C3 deposition seen in the glomerular basement membrane. Another photograph which is showing the lumpy bumpy staining of the glomerular capillary along with the IgG and C3. In electron microscope there are the subepithelial humps seen. In idiopathic nodular glomerular sclerosis there are the X-aggregated mesangial sclerosis and glomerular lobularity. This may be idiopathic or it is seen in the cases of the MPGN, diabetic glomerular sclerosis, amyloidosis and chronic thrombotic microangiopathy. Next is a membrane of proliferative glomerulonephritis. It is referred to pattern of injury characteristic by diffuse mesangial expansion due to the endocapillary proliferation and increase the mesangial matrix and thickness of the capillary wall with seen along with the tram track appearance. This is the MPGN which is showing the endocapillary lobulation and thickening of the glomerular capillary wall and mononuclear inflammatory infiltration seen along with the tubular atrophy in the interstitium. This is the another photograph in which the various lobules appearance seen diffuse endocapillary proliferation and all the glomeruli in the membrane of proliferative glomerulonephritis. This is the another Jones-Silva stain showing the endocapillary proliferation with the extensive basement membrane thickening. In MPGN type 1, there are the immunofluorescence study C3 deposition seen along with the capillary wall and also it is stain positive for the IgG, C1q and C4. MPGN 2 showing the glomerular capillary walls which is band like staining and mesangial showing the granular staining. This is the HNE of the 400 stain which is also showing the mononuclear infiltration in the glomeruli. In diabetic nephropathy is a clinical syndrome in a patient with the diabetes mellitus and characteristic by persistent albuminuria, worsening proteinuria, hypertension and progressive renal failure. This is the light microscopy of the diabetic glomerular sclerosis showing the segmental mesangial matrix expansion and hypercellularity that is most pronounced to the left, and the upper pole has seen the Kimelsian-Wilson nodules. This is the specific for the diabetes. This is the microphotograph which arrow showing the fibrin cap in first and second which is showing the capsular drops. This is the another photograph which is showing the multiple Kimelsian-Wilson nodule efferent and efferent arteriole which is positive for the PAS staining. This is the Jones-Silva staining in which is showing the extensive capillary aneurysm formation in the center which is result from the mesangiolysis which is seen in the glomerular basement membrane. This is photograph showing the proximal tubules patient with the diabetic glomerular sclerosis in that thick tubular basement membrane which is pink thickened lining and no tubular atrophy or interstitial fibrosis. Glomerular from the patient with the diabetic sclerosis showing the linear staining pattern along with the glomerular basement membrane by the immunofluorescence study. Next is a renal amyloidosis. Amyloid deposition in the general appearance is the pink homogeneous and amorphous material in the HNE section. The diagnosis of the amyloidosis is made by the demonstration of the apple green birefringence under the polarized light in the Congo red stain section which should be at least the 6 micron thickness. Amyloid with the glomerulus and the arterial infiltrate by the homogeneous acellular material which is replacing the normal structure which is showing the PAS staining. This is the Congo red stain which showing the diffuse nodular amyloid infiltration in the center and surrounding some vascular involvement also seen. This is the apple green birefringence of the Congo red stain which is deposited under the light polarized light which is confirmed the amyloid deposition. Next is a Crescentric glomerulonephritis, which is rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis. Rapid and which is progressive loss of the renal function and associated with the severe oliguria, sign of the nephritic syndrome. If it is untreated, death from the renal failure occur within the month or week to month. There are three types of the crescentric glomerulonephritis. First is the anti-glomerular basement membrane, anti-GBM antibody associated. In that, Goodpasture syndrome, renal limited. Type 2, immune complex RPGN. In that, SLE, IgA and cryoglomerulonic vasculitis. Type 3 is a post-immune associated glomerulonephritis. In that, idiopathic venous granulomatosis and microscopic polyangiitis. This is the methenamine silver stain, which is showing the crescentric deposition seen along with the glomerulus. In that, type 1 intense linear staining, which is seen along with the glomerular capillary walls for the IgG and with the GBM bracketing. In type 2, there are showing the granular staining along with the capillary wall and mesangial for the IgG. In electron microscopy, type 1, which is showing the disturbed the glomerular basement membrane and no immune type electron deposition. And type 2 showing the numerous subendothelial, subepithelial, mesangial and electron dense deposition. Next classification, glomerular disease which is associated primarily with the asymptomatic or the gross hematuria. In that, IgA nephropathy, Henoch's colon purpura, Alport syndrome, which is hereditary nephritis, and thin basement membrane nephropathy. In the IgA nephropathy, the immunoglobulin A nephropathy described by the gene Berger, and thus sometimes it is called as a Berger disease. IgA nephropathy is one of the glomerular disease which can present as the mesangial proliferation and diagnosis by the dominant or codominant IgA deposition in the glomeruli by the immunofluorescence microscopy and electron microscopy. This is the photograph which showing the IgA nephropathy with mild segmental mesangial hypercellularity in the center and upper left quadrant which is showing the glomerulus. IgA nephropathy immunofluorescence which is showing the mesangial distribution of the IgA deposits along with the true glomeruli. Electron microscopy which is showing the mesangial cell immune deposition. Henoch's colon purpura. This is the childhood syndrome, consists of the purpuric skin lesion, abdomen pain, intestinal bleeding, arthralgia, renal anomaly in with the gross, microscopic hematuria, nephritic syndrome and nephrotic syndrome. Light microscopy showing the many overlapping features with the IgA nephropathy, mild focal to diffuse mesangial proliferation, endocapillary proliferation to the crescentic glomerulonephritis. This is the PA staining in which we can see arrow marking extra and endocapillary proliferation. Immunofluorescence which is showing the IgA deposition in the mesangium and electron microscopy showing the granular immune type dense deposit which is restricted to the mesangium. Next is Alport syndrome. Classical Alport syndrome is the X-linked disease and is the most common form of the Alport syndrome, in which hematuria, progressive hearing loss, ocular defect and progression renal failure are the symptoms. In light microscopy, there are no significant abnormalities seen in the early disease, but at the later stage there are the glomerular sclerosis, interstitial fibrosis and prominent interstitial foam cell, non-specific and just indicative of the proteinuria are typical. The lamina densa, it is called as a basket weaving appearance, and in between this lamina, granular motile material is present. In the immunofluorescence microscopy, there are showing the non-specific IgM deposition in the mesangium, and in the electron microscopy, it is consist of the irregular, thin and thick area of the glomerular basement membrane with the splitting and irregular multilaminated appearance. Alport syndrome, which is showing the mesangial matrix increment adhesion, which is adhesion seen with the Bowman's capsule, interstitial foam cell with the fibrosis in the interstitium. This is the electron micrograph which is demonstrating the thickening and irregular contour of the glomerular basement membrane, which is splitting the lamina densa and several electron dense granules, which is the basket wave appearance. Next is a lupus nephritis, which is SLE of the kidney, in that autoimmune disease of the unknown etiology, characteristic by the inflammation of the multiple organ including the joint, skin and serosal membrane. This should always be kept in the mind. The possible diagnosis in the any age young woman with the nephrotic syndrome. Lupus nephritis gives the almost any glomerular abnormality and almost any combination of the abnormality. Renal disease without the immune deposition of the SLE, it is termed as the non-lupus nephritis. Histological classification of the lupus nephritis. There are mainly 6 types. First, we showing the minimal mesangial lupus nephritis. Deposition of the immune complex which is detectable by the immunofluorescence technique. Type 2, mesangial proliferative lupus nephritis, in that the mesangial hypercellularity of any degree or the mesangial matrix expansion with the immune deposition which is detected by the light microscopy. Type 3 is a focal lupus nephritis, which is the active or inactive focal, segmental or global endo and extracapillary glomerular nephritis, which is involving less than 50% of glomeruli. Class 4, there are diffuse lupus nephritis, active or inactive diffuse, which is segmental, global, endo or extracapillary glomerular nephritis, and involving more than the 50% of the all the glomeruli, and showing the subendothelial diffuse immune deposition with or without mesangial alteration are the common. Type 5, membranous lupus nephritis, which is also global, segmental and subepithelial immune deposition seen, which is also detectable by the light immunofluorescence electron microscopy, and it is occur with combination of the type 3 and type 4, and it is manifest as the advanced sclerosis. Type 6, which is the advanced sclerosis, in that lupus nephritis with the terminal prognosis, 90% of the glomeruli are the sclerosis. Next is the thin basement membrane disease. Thin basement membrane abnormality has also been described as the benign familial hematuria and shows the autosomal dominant or the recessive inheritance. The clinical manifestation is that of the chronic hematuria, either macroscopic or the microscopic, intermediate or the continuous. Light microscopy, which is showing the unremarkable, immunofluorescence is negative, electron microscopy only showing the diffuse or greater than the 50% cases, thinning of the glomerular basement membrane, and which is indicate the thin basement membrane lesion, while the small segmental area of the thinning are the non-specific. The diagnosis of the thin basement membrane is based on the morphometric measurement of the electron microscopy examination. This is the electron microscopy we can diagnose thin basement membrane disease, very thin immunostaining of the basement membrane lesion. Other systemic disease which is associated with the glomeruli like polyarthritis nodosa, Wegener granulomatosis, Goodpasture syndrome, idiopathic mixed cryoglobulinemia, Fabry's disease and Neil-Patella syndrome. Goodpasture syndrome, microscopic polyangiitis, Wegener granulomatosis, they all associated with glomerular lesion, and these three conditions can be histologically similar and are principally characteristic by the in biopsy, glomerular necrosis and crescent formation. In early or the mild form of involvement, there is a focal and segmental, and sometimes it is necrotizing and glomerular nephritis. In the more severe cases, it's seen the rapidly progressive glomerular nephritis and more extensive necrosis, fibrin deposition and extensive formation of the epithelial crescent, which is lead to the global scarring. This is the microphotograph showing the polyarthritis nodosa, in which center fibrinoid necrosis seen along with the vessel wall and surrounded by the lymphocytic and plasma cell. In Wegener granulomatosis, there are the crescentic deposition scenes and inflammatory infiltration seen around medium and small size vessels. In Goodpasture syndrome, there are also the deposition of the mesangial matrix and blood vessel around the mononuclear infiltration scene. Next, mixed cryoglobulinemia. In that, light microscopy is showing the most common finding in the renal biopsy with the diffuse proliferative glomerulonephritis, often with the membranoproliferative pattern. In more acute cases, the deposits produce the appearance of the thrombi and wire loop comparable to what it is seen in the lupus glomerulonephritis. In immunofluorescence study, it is showing the positivity for the immunoglobulin which is present in the cryoglobulin in the glomeruli and vessels. C3 is often found in this location. Fabry's disease. In Fabry's disease, light microscopy of the biopsy showing the hypertrophic the glomerular visceral epithelial cell which is podocized distended with the foamy appearance. Foamy appearing vacuoles, mesangial widening and varying degree of the glomerular obsolescence. Within the glomerulus, there are large amount of the lipid material is seen in the podocyte followed by the parietal epithelial, mesangial and glomerular endothelial cells. This is second photograph which is showing the toluidine blue stain which is plastic embedded tissue showing the inside deposition of the glycolipid black color. Next, Neil-Patella syndrome which is also called as the onycho-osteodysplasia or the Fox syndrome, autosomal dominant mutation of the chromosome 9. Renal enrollment is occur 30 to 55% of the cases and light microscopy is showing the non-specific change. But in electron microscopy is showing the glomerular basement membrane irregularity, thickened and often exhibit the electron-lucent area giving it to moth-eaten appearance. This area are the occupied by the collagen fiber which we can see by this. Summary. Renal biopsy are done to determine the tissue diagnosis, exclude the other possible diagnostic possibility, assessing the severity and activity of the lesions, grade and amount of the irreversible scarring like staging. Light microscopy is often most important tool for the detecting primary site of the glomerular lesion, but to differentiate between the disease with common manifestation, electron microscopy and immunofluorescence study are helpful. In the glomerular changes, we can see by the renal biopsy. In microscopy, there are focal, diffuse, segmental, global, percentage of the glomerular involvement, size, cellularity, capillary potency, glomerular basement membrane thickening, mesangial widening, and mesangial cellularity in which is related to the tubules, interstitium, vessels, and focal and diffuse which is estimate the severity, negative finding, absence of necrosis and absence of the amyloidosis. In immunofluorescence of the renal biopsy study, we showing the number of the glomeruli in the frozen section which is description of the positive and negative result with the number of the glomeruli, location of deposition, their relative intensity of staining and evaluation all the fold compartment for the immune deposition. In electron microscopy of the glomerular lesion, we see the total number of glomeruli, glomerular abnormality, immune deposition. There are the location, number, appearance and size, description of the degree of the food process effacement, tubular epithelial cells, basement membrane, interstitium and vessel also see to categorization of the lesion. Diagnosis is done by the depend on the pattern of the glomerular disease. If possible, depend on the clinical information available, it is more specific diagnosis should be offered. If no diagnosis we can identify by the all of three technique, only the descriptive morphologic pattern should be given in the comments. Take home message. Kidney biopsy is an indispensable tool for the current practice of evidence-based medicine. The clinical pathological correlation is a great challenge for both pathologists and nephrologists. So light microscopy, immunofluorescence and electron microscopy should be done routinely in all the biopsy. Kidney biopsy appropriate process and interpret will yield a correct clinical pathological diagnosis, leading to the appropriate therapeutic strategy while at the same time providing the key prognostic information. This is my reference. Thank you.